Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a meeting of the Hunterdon Central Regional High School Board of Education. Please be advised that this and all meetings of the board are open to the public and media, consistent with the Open Public Meetings Act, and that advance notice required therein has been provided. Meeting notice was also posted in the boardroom of the upper school campus, sent to the Courier News, Star Ledger, Express Times, and the Hunterdon County Democrat, and sent to the clerks of Delaware Township, East Amwell Township, Flemington Borough, Raritan Township, and Reddington Township. The public will have an opportunity to be heard as shown on the agenda. Can I get a roll call?
Mrs. Duggan?
Here.
Ms. Gong?
Here.
Dr. Halpern?
Here.
Mrs. Kellogg?
Here.
Ms. LaCosta?
Here.
Mrs. Peterson?
Here.
Ms. Rothel? And Mrs. Santangelo.
Here. All right, please rise for the flag salute.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Rebecca, would you please read the district mission statement?
Yes. Hunterdon Central is an innovative educational community dedicated to the intellectual, social, and emotional safety and growth of all students. While fostering curiosity and promoting wellness, we aspire to create powerful learning experiences, establish strong partnerships, and serve as contributing members of society.
Thank you. All right, for those who may not be aware, Mr. Jerry Reimer had resigned from the Board of Education at the beginning of the month, and so we immediately put out a notice on our website as well as local newspapers seeking interested candidates. So tonight we are going to be interviewing those three candidates, and we're going to start with Reverend Williams. Okay. Welcome, Reverend Williams.
Thank you.
Thank you for your interest and your time this evening. So what we're going to do, the format is I'm going to administer 7 questions to you that were prepared for us by the New Jersey School Board Association. There will be no questions to the board. You can then sit in the audience, and then we will interview the other 2 candidates.
Sure.
We will take a short 10-minute recess. We'll confer, and then we will come back out and make the nominations and take the vote. Okay?
Sure.
All right. So we'll get started. So question number 1, why do you want to be a board member?
Thank you, President Santangelo, members of the board. My wife and I, as 20-year residents of Raritan Township, and the parents of a student who had the full experience of matriculating through the district and whose accomplishments included National Honor Society, Red Devil ambassador, and captain of the state champion golf team, led to my involvement in the district on many levels. This included attending board meetings and interacting with other parents around multiple aspects of student life and education. Having observed and participated in the process externally, I now feel compelled to be more involved, utilizing my professional and personal experiences in planning, budgeting, analytical, and critical thinking. In addition, I would provide a voice and perspective from a seldom heard from community within the district, all of which will be a benefit to the effective operation of the board.
Okay, thank you very much. Next question, what specific skills would you bring to the board?
As a project engineering manager and as a faith leader, I bring skills of planning, scoping, budgeting, budgeting projects of over tens of millions of dollars, critical and analytical thinking. Also, in my experience and ability of public speaking, I'm accustomed to making and presenting information in a public forum that allows me to be in front of folks with comfort.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Please give specific examples of your ability in interpersonal relationships and teamwork.
Certainly, I could talk about a number of engineering projects that I worked on. We're bringing teams and various disciplines together of engineers, of maintenance folks, of utilities folks. But I think perhaps one personal, small thing that I've done that I think I'm proud of, and that is putting on a fundraiser that. A golf fundraiser that raised thousands of dollars for students for the United Negro College Fund. And in doing this, I had to bring together several folks for this nonprofit benefit, where we had to plan, where we had to bring folks together who would do find the venue. Take on sponsorship, finding, and also doing the publication. And in bringing that team together, we were able to raise funds that were critical for those who are underrepresented in college that I'm very proud of.
Thank you. What do you see as the role of a school board member?
So the role of a school board member, I think one of the big roles is to support the superintendent and what she does in planning, in administration, building, in budgeting. Also, I believe that the role of the school board is to uphold the policies and regulations provided by not only the individual board, but by the state, and to ensure that we are following state laws. The board is also to be respectful to students, be respectful to parents, be respectful to staff, and more importantly, be respectful to one another as you deliberate these very critical and important decisions that impact our district. And so the ability to work collaboratively together, to work respectfully together, and to move forward our district to be the best that it can be.
All right, thank you very much. Please describe your previous community or nonprofit experience.
So one of the things that I was a former coach for the Flemington Raritan youth basketball and baseball coach. I currently serve on the Hunterdon County NAACP as co-chair for our education committee. I'm proud of that because one of the things that we really instituted this year and will be continuing, and that is a scholarship that we have presented to 3 students, one of which was a Central student, Voorhees and North Hunterdon. And so I'm very proud of that. And I'm also currently, among other things, is I am a board member of Family Promise National, where we deal with managing crisis of families, in particular, families with children.
Okay, thank you. What areas would you like to strengthen in our district?
I think that an area that I would like to strengthen, in the district is looking at how we enhance the communication with, especially our students, and making sure that our students are felt heard. Make sure our students feel that we have been responsive. One of the things I do like that the district instituted towards the end, I believe towards the end of last year, and that was to make sure that we had 2 student representatives on the board. And I think that another thing that we could take a look at is bringing the affinity groups to the board to be heard from, to talk about what concerns they might have, to talk about how they see what is going on in the district. So.
Okay, thank you. Last question. Are you aware of the time, training commitments, and ethics law disclosures required for school board membership?
Yes, and I am fully prepared.
Okay, all right, very good.
To execute those.
All right. All right, well, thank you very much for your time, and you can take a seat in the audience, and then we'll bring on the next candidate. Okay. Hi, welcome. Thank you for your interest in the school board.
Great.
So I'm going to be asking a series of questions, and those were prepared for us by the New Jersey School Board Association. There will be no questions to the board, and then we'll just ask you to sit in the audience, and we'll finish up with the last candidate. We'll take a 10-minute break. We'll come back. We'll do our nominations and our vote.
Okay, great.
Okay? All right, very good. All right, so the first question, why would you like to be a board member?
I would like to be a board member because the last election cycle has really thrown us into radical change that I don't think any of us know what is going to happen. What I hope to bring to the board is balance. I will say that I believe that dissent is an existential part of democracy. Thank you, Harry Belafonte, for that quote. But I do believe that the board really needs balance in Flemington. I think we really need to focus about having our children become good citizens, whatever that means to them, kind citizens and productive members of our society. I hope to bring a different point of view is really what I'd like to do.
Okay, thank you. Next question, what specific skills would you bring to the board?
I'm highly skilled in compromising and working with teams. I come from the food world, so I've always worked with a bunch of really temperamental people. So I've always managed to keep my team focused on what they need to do. I don't want to bring personalities into this because it is all about the kids. So I really think that my strength is really being able to reach across the aisle, understand, compromise, and I'm an excellent listener.
All right, very good, thank you. Please give specific examples of your ability in interpersonal relationships and teamwork.
I'm an excellent soldier, so I really follow directions well. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I am an excellent motivator of people doing that. I worked in a lot of nonprofit in New York City back in a few decades ago when New York City was very different. So I really had to kind of keep one foot in the nonprofit and then working with the city agencies. I worked with the homeless population, mostly teenagers who at that point had AIDS, and it was basically a terminal illness. So I really had to keep their motivation up. I had to make sure that everyone was safe at all times, and I really, honestly, I had to really struggle with the city to get money and kind of make a lot of negotiations on that level. So I was able to bring it all together.
Okay, thank you. What do you see as the role of a school board member?
I think a school board member is an excellent bridge between the community and the board. I think I would advocate for students, number one. Number two, try to get the community involved, which I know is the most difficult thing and historically has been that way. But I really think it's supporting the students, really focusing on curriculum, making sure the budget is being dispersed in ways that are really important and really are the most effective.
Okay, thank you. Please describe your previous community or nonprofit experience.
Okay. Like I said, I started in a nonprofit with a Street Work Project, which is now part of Victim Services, but we didn't like that name. So that I worked with the basically throwaway transient youths right near Times Square. So that it started as a volunteer position, and then they just hired me to be director of the drop-in center. And what that entailed was we provided showers, we provided a food pantry, we provided clothing, dental care once a month, health care biweekly. So I was there for a few years. After that, I ended up at Catholic Charities of Brooklyn and Queens, which is actually the second largest employer in Brooklyn behind Con Ed. And again, I started as a volunteer, and then they hired me on board. I actually started out in the a nonprofit education department, the preschool department. So that involved a lot of disbursement of funds, making sure that everybody was licensed and that kind of thing. Then I did a career change and decided to go to culinary school. I went on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and won my tuition that way. And
Really?
so while I was in culinary school, I won the Distinguished Service Award because I did work so much with the community and the hospitals. So I've always been like, hi, I'll do it.
All right, thank you. Okay. What areas would you like to strengthen in our district?
I would really like to strengthen diversity and acceptance. I think especially now in today's political climate, we do have to keep focusing on that. I think school safety is of the utmost importance, and acceptance. Those are the two issues that I really hear from my daughter, who's a junior at Central right now, is she wants to feel safe and secure at school, and I don't think that's asking too much.
Okay. Last question. Are you aware of the time, training commitments, and ethic law disclosures required for school board membership?
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. All right, very good. Well, thank you very much for your answers. You can have a seat in the audience.
Thank
And
you.
we'll take the last candidate. Welcome. Thank you for your interest in the school board. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions prepared by the New Jersey School Board Association. There will be no questions for the board, and then what we're going to do is take a quick 10-minute recess, confer an executive session, come back out, and we'll do our nominations and our vote. Okay. So question number 1, why would you like to be a board member?
So I have a freshman in the school right now. I do have 2 sons that just graduated. I had one graduate in 23 and 24. I actually did run for board member in 23. So it was something that I was interested. I mean, I've always been involved in my kids' school. I was part of the PTO as a treasurer for most of the time, but you're always part of the whole PTO. I just think it's important for parents to be involved, to see, making sure that we're doing all the things that all of our kids need, and to support, the staff and the teachers and the administration as well.
Okay. All right, thank you. What specific skills would you bring to the board?
So I think, just working on the PTO as a treasurer, and then I worked here as well. I was on the football booster club as a treasurer for 5 years as well. So I've always been involved with, just working on a team with other members, helping come together. My background is I'm a registered dietitian. So I'm always educating people as well. I'm always working with people. That's really my job. And now my role now is director of guest experience, so even more so, I work with people. I think it's important just to, I'm a good listener. I like to really try and resolve things and listen. It's easy for me to kind of see all points of view and then come to a conclusion as to what my opinion is. But, I think that's a big part. You have to be able to be open-minded for conversations with everyone.
Okay. All right, thank you. Please give specific examples of your ability in interpersonal relationships and teamwork.
So again, that's all I do all day long is, I'm working with the team at work. I am working with really dozens of people every day because, again, I'm doing guest experiences, I'm training people, I'm teaching people, I'm educating them. I've worked in so many variations of jobs throughout the years. I've been a director, I've been a manager, so I know how to, work with employees. I've had over 50 employees at a time. So that honestly gives you the most to me, how to really work well with other people of all different kinds, of all different, income levels. Really you learn how to kind of deal with, I actually have had to do the whole gamut from hourly employees all the way up to administration, CEOs of companies. And then again, like I've just being part of groups with the schools, always being involved in my children's school has kind of just given me that ability to do so.
Okay. All right, thank you. Please describe your previous community or nonprofit experiences.
So again, kind of like with the PTO, that's probably the biggest contribution. Again, I did it all through Robert Hunter from, I don't even know how many years. I probably did it for 5, 6 years throughout that, maybe even longer, and then just went straight into the high school. So I've been doing mostly that because I also have a full-time job. So I do, those are the kind of things that most important to me is that the PTO has been my biggest contribution.
Okay. What areas would you like to strengthen in our district?
I always, when I was running, I think part of what I was interested in is I really want to make sure that academically, we're really focusing on the kids, academics. I would say I'm really more interested, like making sure that the kids are really getting what they need from our school, that they're doing well. Are they, are the academics, up to par? Are they leaving here with a good education to get into college? I do have a son in college, so we've been through that experience. I have one that's in trade school, so I feel like I have a little bit of everything. And even the athletics, we can look, I would be glad to look at athletics. All my kids do athletics through the school as well. So those are the main areas that I'm more interested in. I just think, academics is just something that I really want to make sure we're focusing on.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay. I'm sorry, I skipped a question. What do you see as the role of a school board member?
Again, just kind of working as a group together to see, just really supporting. To me, I think it's supporting the superintendent, supporting administration here, supporting the teachers. And then we're really a voice for the parents and for the students. So I think as a mom, as a member of the community, that's a big part of making sure that I'm giving that part of the perspective as well, and I can listen to parents and, other people from the community as well.
Okay. All right. And last question. Are you aware of the time, training commitments, and ethic law disclosures required for the school board membership?
So I do know it's, I think, once a month mandatory, and, and then I think there's other committees you can join, and so you can have, multiple days out of the month.
Yes.
That's my
Okay.
understanding.
Yes. Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you. So we will now take a quick 10-minute recess. Am I doing all of those? So I'm going to do a motion to convene into executive.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Okay, can I get a motion to reconvene into open session?
So moved. Second.
Okay, thank you. All right, should I just do all in favor? Yeah, all in favor? Okay, all right. All right, at this time, I'm going to open the floor to nomination to. I didn't finish. Let me start over. Okay, no. Okay. So I'll open the floor to nomination to fill the vacant seat from Raritan Township through December 31st, 2025.
I would like to nominate Claudia Gray.
Oh, boy. I don't know, was that clear who went first?
But they were together at the same time.
Okay, so how do we want to do that?
I think you should look at the tape.
Okay, why don't we just do it in, should we do it in order? Yeah, okay. So let's start with Mr. Williams. Right?
I'm sorry, point of
So-
clarification, what are you looking for?
So we'll, yeah, a second,
Second
basically.
for Reverend Williams.
Okay. Okay.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. No.
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 No. Okay.
I would like to nominate Claudia Gray.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. Mrs. Spitzer?
Yes.
No.
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 Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Mrs. Gray, is she here? Oh, okay. So congratulations. So Mrs. Spitzer will be in touch with you with regard to paperwork, background check, and so we hope to see you at the table next month. All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you to the other two candidates of interest as well. Appreciate your time. Thank you. No. No, we are actually in open session, so we are going to continue with the agenda. So at this time, we are going to do the approval of minutes. So that would be for the minutes for the December 16th Board of Education meeting, approval of minutes for the January 6th reorganization meeting, and approval of the retreat minutes for January 13th. So can I get a motion and a second?
Motion to approve the minutes from the 3 different meetings.
Okay.
I'll second.
I don't know if her mic is working.
Mike, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Motion to approve the minutes. 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, roll call, please. She did second it. Me.
Mrs. Duggan?
Yes.
Ms. Gong?
Yes.
Dr. Halpern?
Is this all three?
Yes.
Yes.
Mrs. Kellogg?
Yes.
Ms. LaCosta?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mrs. Rothal? Yes. And Mrs. Santangelo?
Yes.
All yes, motion carries.
Thank you. All right, we want to acknowledge that we received correspondence, and that correspondence will be in the board secretary's office. We are now going to move into our superintendent's report. Jessica?
Thank you, Lisa. Good evening, everyone. Is my mic on? Yes, okay. Good evening, everyone. It's good to be back here with you all after our retreat a few weeks ago. You may not realize it, but this month is New Jersey Board Member Recognition Month. So we do have a formal recognition later on this agenda, but I'd also like to take a moment to honor and thank our dedicated Board of Education members. during Board Member Recognition Month. Your unwavering commitment and service are essential, as you know, to the success of Hunterdon Central and to upholding our mission as an innovative educational community. Something that was very striking to me at our retreat recently is your collaborative work on the landscape photo challenge that I gave you. Your explanations showed that together we really are dedicated to fostering the intellectual, social, and emotional safety and growth of every student. I hope you can take a moment to remember and honor your discussions with your partner, your why, and your role as a board member as we start our monthly meetings this year. Thank you for helping us guide our students not only toward academic achievement, but also toward becoming contributing, compassionate members of society. And it's an honor to work alongside you in this shared mission. So thank you. I'm going to do a small clapping for our board members. Thank you. All right, so to help kick off 2025, as you know, we hosted an open house on January 16th with a special focus on our 8th grade families as well as elective course exploration. We had a great turnout, and it looked like we had nearly doubled the amount of families as compared to what we had last year. 2025-2026 scheduling information and instructions have gone out to all families, and within the next few weeks, all students will have entered their course requests into Genesis for the 2025-2026 school year. Our student activities and athletics are already have strong showings in this new year. I will give a few highlights here, but I know Bronwyn will also be sharing some in her report in a short while. So at the Regional Model UN Conference in early January, Central's delegation was recognized as a premier delegation. In addition, 6 students were recognized as premier delegates for their outstanding debate, which is the highest award given at the conference. Congratulations to senior Tori Castro, who won the Hunterdon Warren Sussex Girls Swimming MVP Award and also beat the record for 100-meter fly over the weekend. We had 6 students represent Central in the Central Jersey Music Educators Association Honors Choir concert yesterday at Monroe Township High School. Congratulations to Abigail Black, Adriana Lopiccolo, Annalise Guerrero, Brooklyn Hawkins, Carly Perrine, and Luke Schnaut. And in other music news, senior Max Kenny auditioned and was accepted into the New Jersey Music Educators Association All-State Band. Max will be rehearsing and performing with his honors ensemble at the New Jersey Music Educators Conference, as well as a concert at the NJ PAC. And our Thespian Troop Society Troop 3035 competed with 29 other schools at the Speech and Theater Association of New Jersey Governor's Award competition earlier this month. In addition to 16 students earning the highest award distinction of accomplished, we also had 2 pairs receive recognition. Casey Shengrund and Leah Rosa took 4th place with their scene from A Streetcar Named Desire, and Annie Feldman and Bronwyn Downey, our student representative, were finalists with their scene from Hedda Gabler. Wow, that's a volume change. Okay. Congratulations to our students on these accomplishments. I have one more update for you all that I want to be sure we review because it is an organizational item for action tonight. As you know, our district has been preparing for the QSAC process. As a reminder, this stands for the Quality Single Accountability Continuum, and it serves as a review and evaluation process for school districts with the New Jersey Department of Education. We undergo this process every 3 years, and we are scored in 5 areas: instruction and program, fiscal, governance, operations, and personnel. The first 7 indicators of the instruction and program area are points awarded based on NJSLA test scores, absenteeism and attendance rates, and 4- and 5-year graduation rates. Recently, the State Board of Education adopted changes to how these indicators are scored, which is scheduled to take effect in the 2025-2026 school year. However, in December, the Department of Education informed districts going through QSAC this year that they could elect to utilize the new calculation and weights for their instruction and program scoring. So under the current and soon-to-be old weights, we earn 82 out of 100 points. But if we use the proposed weights, we will earn 83 points. Districts need to earn over an 80 to pass this area of QSAC. So even though we pass regardless, I'm recommending that we file the equivalency waiver on the agenda so that we can earn the maximum number of points available. And now I'm going to shift into an update on our instructional program. Tonight's presentation is centered on artificial intelligence. As you all know, our district has been researching and experimenting with AI, as it's called, since generative AI exploded almost 2 years ago. Although this is not a direct district goal, it does embody the innovation and personalization that our district encapsulates into our culture and our mission. So I'm going to ask Brendan McIsaac, Supervisor English Drama and Film, Chuck Roberto, Supervisor of Technology and the IMC, and Denise Spina, Library Media Specialist and our unofficial technology coach, to come to the podium for their presentation. And I believe they also have some other staff guests with them as well.
Good evening, folks. It's great to be here and great to be talking about such a kind of new and exciting topic. As Jess shared, I'm joined by Chuck Roberto and Denise Spina, and we're going to give you a little bit of the story of kind of what we've been up to for the past 1.5 to 2 years, sort of where we started, where we are now, and kind of where we see some of this going. Chuck's going to hand out a few artifacts. We'll make reference to them, but feel free to look at them as we're talking, kind of look at what they show and what they exemplify. We'll make reference to them, as well as a number of teachers we have with us here tonight to talk a little bit about the ways they've been employing AI in the classroom, as well as a new student club and their representatives as well. If you recall, about 2 years ago, ChatGPT exploded onto the scene and was sort of the buzz of pretty much everything and has kind of remained there. I remember at that time reading an article, is this the end of high school English? And that got my attention. I was like, all right, I better kind of lean into this and see what this is all about. And that started a lot of conversations within the English department and within the school. By September of 2023, we decided to expand that conversation. So we reached out to the entire school and said, hey, if you're interested in artificial intelligence, we want you to join our focus group. And right out of the gate, we got maybe 25, 30 teachers across disciplines to sort of join us. And we had a series of monthly meetings. And we began to talk about what frightened us about it, what excited us about it, what we thought its potential and possibility was, as well as the ways we were going to begin to experiment and learn how to use these tools in our personal lives and in our educational work as well. Through those conversations, we began to realize some things remain fundamentally important in education, and that's the relationships that we have with our students that will never go away, and with the work that we do with kids, it's things like preserving their voice, their creativity, their critical thinking, and how are we going to use these new tools to preserve that and sort of really explore the process of what it was this tool could do for us. Mindful of the fact that we had to kind of come to some understanding about how privacy works and how to protect students as we're exploring these new tools and trying these things out. And this began a series of conversations of staff sharing what they were trying, sharing their reservations, and beginning to adapt what it was they were trying in the classroom and experiment and get feedback from students. What was interesting is over the course of the past 1.5 years, we've now grown to our year focus group, focusing on our AI focus group, continuing that conversation. We've onboarded our new student AI club, so with student representatives. We got out and we also talked to students to get their input. We went to the parents groups to get their input. 2 weeks ago, the night of the open house, we did a presentation for the incoming 8th grade parents so that they could be aware of the ways that we were sort of leaning into how to use this technology. And the next day at our in-service, we had gotten to the point where we were offering 9 different AI sessions, all being led by teachers who were either part of that early focus group or early adopters of the technology. You'll see the descriptions of those sessions in one of the handouts that you have. And we had 135 staff members show up and learn from each other about these tools, techniques, and strategies. So from that initial interest, we've now impacted over half the staff who are now actively exploring ways to employ it and rethinking their own teaching and instruction. I'm going to hand off to Denise Spina for a little bit, who has been working very closely with the teachers to help them redesign, reconceive what they've been doing, and then we'll have some of those folks up as well.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us. By all intents and purposes, I've become the unofficial tech coach here at Central, so I've had the opportunity to work a lot one-on-one with so many of our teachers, and obviously AI has been the up-and-coming tool as of late. I think I went ahead too many slides. So initially, I think a lot of the work that I did with teachers involved dabbling in productivity for teachers, because as we all know, there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, things that have to get done, but take up a lot of time. And I mean, we can call it grunt work, but at the end of the day, it's still got to get done. So we're talking things like developing rubrics. We have the content that goes into making a rubric, but maybe having a tool to do the formatting for us will save a couple of hours of time when you add all of that up. So a lot of the work initially was with doing stuff like that. But then I think teachers started to see how there could be connections with bringing this into the classroom and having students engage with some of this as well. For example, just today, worked with a science teacher who was using a tool to help simulate interviews for her students who were applying to go to a field trip experience in the Biomedical Academy. So rather than having to take so much time to interview every single student in the program, having the simulation takes a lot of that time off of her plate. And so now the kids can all do that simultaneously as part of an assignment, and she can look at the transcripts of those interviews after the fact. Similarly, a lot of English teachers are starting to see the connection with doing writing conferences, whereas it might have taken two or three class days to get through every single student and have those individual conferences. Now there can be AI simulations to do that, and now the teacher can spend the time focusing on some of the more important parts of those conversations instead of having to do all of them with every single student. And we also see in the world languages departments, a lot of those teachers are using the time to have the students practice their conversational skills because, again, having one teacher in the room converse individually with every single student takes a lot of time. So having a tool that will not only simulate that conversation but also record it will allow the teacher to do a lot of that work a lot quicker. I don't want to go into too much of that in detail because we actually have some teachers here to share those experiences with you firsthand. So first up, we're going to bring Mrs. Frank and Mrs. Axman up from the World Language Department. Just hold it high because the signal is down low. Hold it up.
Good evening, and thank you for having us, and thank you for your support with the PD for this. School AI has been a huge help for the world language teachers. It allows us to set up lessons, for example, from a level 1 to a level 4 class. We can, you set up the criteria, you dictate the conversation, and students must answer in a complete sentence. They must add 2 adjectives, whatever you're studying, you know, a verb tense, you stimulate, you ask it to do that. The school AI does a great job with that, and then we get the feedback immediately. So you know if your student's having an issue with a certain aspect of your lesson, so you can differentiate immediately. So it really has a lot of purpose for us as world language teachers. We get great use from it. Did you want to?
Yeah, I just wanted to add also that with that feedback that you receive, it can also inform your instruction for the next few days. So if students are struggling with, for example, transition words, then you may want to address that the following day. Address that the following day through a small lesson just to reinforce that skill. And again, as Deb said, that you can design your prompt to differentiate for students. They may need, they may be able to, some students may be able to answer conversationally in full sentences, so they would, the prompt would include that, whereas if they're not able to, you can accept responses that are not in a full sentence. So differentiation is also available when using it. Really helpful, very helpful.
Right, and you also see 2 other, DFID and Conmigo. We also use that as well for writing for our students. It allows us to differentiate, and it's really going to serve them well when they take their end-of-the-year exams. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, we're going to bring up some English teachers, Mrs. Freeman and Mrs. Kenya.
Hello. Hi, I teach AP Language and Composition, and I've been playing around with AI for most of last year and working with AI as a peer partner for peer revision. So I might have a student feed a paragraph of their paper into School AI and ask a question like, can you help me with sentence structure? And that sort of frees me up to do conferences with them on their ideas instead of sentence by sentence revisions. And the thing that's helpful about that too is they can't just feed their paper in and say, how does it sound? They have to be a little more specific. So it requires a little bit of reflective thinking on their part. I've also used Perplexity. Sorry. Thank you. Perplexity as a research tool. Perplexity is a tool where students can feed a question in and ask for credible sources, and it's just as good as using, like Google Scholar or some of our databases.
Hello, I'm Christine Kenya, and I used AI in a few capacities. If you look on the screen there, my students had read Jekyll and Hyde, and when they were reading, they were put in groups, and each group was assigned a different critical lens through which they had to analyze the story. And they took notes and collaborated. And then in response to, I have to give a shout out to Mrs. Frank, who last year introduced us to an Emmy award-winning author who came and spoke to my classes about creativity and writing and AI's role in being a creative person these days. We were compelled to do a project where students had to design using AI. They had to design like movie posters or book covers that not only captured some aspect of the text, but they had to have features in it that spoke to their critical approaches. So someone designing something from a psychoanalytic perspective would have something different from someone designing a book cover from a mythological perspective. And so they had to be very careful and deliberate with what they chose to put in. Denise was phenomenal with the technical aspects that I could never, ever have figured out on my own. And then students presented their work to the class with their annotations and their explanations, and it was overall a really rich experience.
Good. May I ask who the author was that you brought in?
Mark McNeese. Mark McNeese. He's a mystery writer, and he's quite well known. He's I think president of some mystery foundations. Just a wonderful guy. We hope to have him back.
We do want to take this minute to introduce Kevin Hardy, business teacher and advisor to the AI Club. He was a part of the focus group, and at the end of last year, he told us about the emergence of this club, so we welcomed him and his club members who have been joining our meetings this year.
Hello, Board of Education members. My name is Kevin Hardy. I'm a current business education teacher and computer science teacher here at Hunterdon Central. So about a year ago, the president of our club, Drew Sood, approached me and wanted to start a student voice of AI through our Artificial Intelligence Club. So we worked for about a half a year to get the club right, and here we are. We started it in the fall, and currently we are the student voice, or that's kind of our slogan for our Artificial Intelligence Club on at Hunterdon Central. So currently, right now, we're trying to bridge the gap between student and teacher between artificial intelligence. We currently go over different forms of artificial intelligence in our meetings, and it's a safe space to talk about AI amongst the student body and amongst their peers. Right now, we currently have about 28 members. We meet twice a month, and I have some of our executive board members here as well. So to talk a little bit about what we do in the club is our president, Drew Sood.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Dhruv. I'm the president of the AI Club, and I just want to briefly go over our club's mission. So the first part of our club's mission is to just keep up with the rise of AI. We know it's a growing field, and we want to be able to research latest advancements, recent news, or just any AI tools. We think that doing this will not only help us stay up to date with what's going on out in the world, but it could potentially help our school community. And the second part of our mission is to promote ethical AI. So we want to be able to work with teachers, the AI teacher committee, the focus groups, to find ways that we as students can use AI, but not as a shortcut, but more of a tool that will help us understand the subject more and learn better. I have two of my friends here as well who are going to talk a little bit about what we do in our club and how we're engaging the members.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ethan, and I'm the vice president of the AI Club. So recently, as a means of gathering more information for our school in terms of using AI, we have been creating a survey for students and staff to gain more insight of the ethical and social uses of AI inside of the classroom.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anvit, and I'm the secretary of this club. I just want to go over the member tasks that we conduct in our actually bi-weekly meetings. These member tasks are really just a way to keep all of our members engaged, to keep the club running. As you know, AI is an expanding industry. It's evolving at a rapid pace, and so what kind of AI club would we be if we weren't also evolving at the same pace? So we decided to split the member tasks into 3 different roles. The first role being the creative role. Essentially, this person will just be creating advertisements or graphics to help get new members to join our club. The second role that we have decided to make is the outreach role. We might get some guest speakers, or we might even partner with other organizations or even clubs within this school. And our last role is the research role. Essentially, this person will just be finding new insights in artificial intelligence, and they'll be reporting out to the rest of the club and maybe even the AI committee or even future Board of Education meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I think we're just going to hand it off to them now. Our work is done. The students will take it from here. But I do want to hit on one note of partnerships that I forgot to mention before. Next week, Monday, we've connected with the New Jersey Department of Education's Office of Innovation. They are very interested in our work. They are coming out to our focus meeting next week because they want to see how we're doing what we're doing and learn if there's ways, what they can learn from us to replicate at other schools. A few of the other things we're going to highlight sort of as we wrap up are just the different ways we're thinking about our work now. And one of them is sort of that illustration of the creative process. With the shift to AI and the power that AI tools have, an increased amount of our attention is going to be on the learning process, as opposed to traditionally, it was the end product, was the summation or the sum representative of what students can do. Because AI increasingly has the ability to do those things, we recognize the need to focus back on the journey of how kids got there and their thinking, learning, and reflection along the way. And there's a few other features about how we're using some other technology and approaches as well.
One of the things you'll see on that screen in the bottom corner there is the suite of Google Workspace tools, and a lot of those tools have what's called a revision history attached to them. There are also extensions that we can download. For example, one that goes with Google Docs is called Draftback, and things like this allow teachers to see, again, a student's process in developing a piece of work. So realistically, if there were to be a breach of ethics and all of a sudden you see a giant copy and paste in a document, that would be revealed through tools like this. So teachers are able to see the development of a student's piece of work, and that way you can actually gauge that there is process going on. Another tool is called GoGuardian. I'm going to hand off to Chuck because he can go into more details about how that works.
Yeah, GoGuardian is a tool that we have available to all of our teachers that allows them to monitor what their students are doing on their Chromebooks at any given time. On one single screen, they'll see each one of the monitors of the students that are in their classroom. They'll see what tabs they have open. They're able to close tabs. They're able to actually set, they call them scenes. So going into a class, they can just say, you know, you're only going to be working on Google Docs, so I'm only going to open Google Classroom and Google Docs today, and that's all that you have access to. And that way, they're able to have conferences with other students and do all the other work that they do with individuals without having to worry about, you know, one of the things you keep hearing about is ethical use of AI and ethical use of computers in general, really. But GoGuardian is one of the tools that we can use that helps keep kids focused on the task that they're supposed to be doing. and without the teacher having to sit there policing it all the time. You can also have things a little bit more free, and so you can say, I want to keep things very open for students. I just don't want them to go to ChatGPT or Perplexity or one of these other AI sites to make sure that they're not trying to get around to doing the actual work. So there's a lot of things you can do with GoGuardian, and there's other built-in features where you can actually, I found it very useful when I was teaching, and we had during COVID, the shutdown, I was able to monitor my students using that, and we were able to have chat sessions through GoGuardian within that. So I was able to see if they were having difficulty on the screen, and actually just shoot them a little text message through the product, and they would give feedback. We were able to have conversations that way, and you can even do that in the classroom. So you're not really kind of singling someone out about something. You're kind of just sending a little private message to them to have a little conversation to help them with what they do. As we found from our students, they're looking for assistance, not necessarily answers. They want to understand the content. They want to understand how to do the things that they're being asked to do. They're not looking to cheat for the most part. We do need to keep an eye on that because there are some people who might. But overall, that's not what people are looking for. So we want to make sure that AI is being used as a tool to enhance their understanding, not replace the thinking and learning. And so we're giving teachers the tools they need to do that.
So sort of the last point we'll make are the different ways it's being used. I think another good example, and you have a couple of them in your hands, specifically the one dialogue that you saw that alternates between red and black, is an interesting example of a teacher who creates the conversation that he would have with students one-on-one to help them develop their ideas. Because this is his process and his approach, he creates that conversation that every student has simultaneously with the bot that he creates. And if you look at the way the bot engages back with the student, it follows his protocol and parameters, makes suggestions about where to develop or where to maybe go a little bit further. You'll notice that the tone is always sort of complimentary and affirmative and encouraging sort of deeper and more developed thinking. And that's what teachers are beginning to realize, that their assignments, that they can in essence sort of replicate themselves. There are now 25 of them simultaneously having these conversations with every student in the room, and then they're kind of jumping in and out of that on a very different level, and then sort of seeing the progress that every student is making, and as Deb and Tracy were sharing before, getting that summary kind of feedback, like who's doing well, who's struggling and needs help in what areas, or who's lost and just needs a lot more closer attention. So we are beginning to recognize the path to more personalized learning. As was shared before, teachers are recognizing these powerful tools that can streamline and speed up their own work. And I think in terms of lifelong learning, as parents and educators, I think we all have the potential to use these tools very successfully. I'm very intrigued for parents in particular, as you're seeking to help your students do the math that you long forgot how to do, or to be that writing coach that maybe you cannot be. You are now equipped with the tools to be that tutor and to be that assistant to your kids. So that is sort of a summary of our work. We thank you for the opportunity and your attention, and would certainly like to open the floor to any questions you may have. Yeah. And that's really just sort of capturing that it's the journey. The learning is the journey. It's not the end. And it's how do we capture the journey and all the steps of the journey, because that's where the kids learn and realize what it is that they've learned. Other questions or?
What's the difference between school AI and AI I might use at home?
So AI that you might use at home might be things like ChatGPT that anybody could sort of go and use and put a prompt in or ask a question. tools like School AI are being designed in a way to interface with school platforms like Google, and they also have much stricter sort of guardrails on their design, so that where you could, in theory, maybe go ask anything of ChatGPT, what's designed in School AI will be designed by the teacher, have sort of a knowledge base with which it's working and from which it's giving answers, or kind of have the step-by-step instructions that the task is asking you to undertake. Whereas ChatGPT is kind of wide open to anything that you might employ. Not to mention the school-based programs will then give you the more differentiated and individualized feedback on how each student is doing. All right, well, thank you very much.
I just wanted to make a quick comment. That's all right.
Sneak in under the wire here.
No, I just wanted to thank you for a very comprehensive presentation. I thought you hit on a lot of the points that we think about and have questions on with regard to AI, so I appreciate that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
So it's sort of a quick question. You know, at universities, you've got teachers, professors using asynchronous lectures. They tape them and then you just go out and listen to it. So it's really great what you guys are doing. But one question I have is when AI is working with each student, how much interaction are the students having with each other so that they could actually learn from each other and actually build relationships with each other?
Well, and I think that's the deliberate part of the design. So an expression that you'll often hear in AI is the idea of the human in the loop. And whether that's the human, you, the user, who's preserving what makes your work uniquely you, or the teacher and or the peers who sort of bring to the table what makes them uniquely them. So I think going forward, what you're going to see is teachers sort of figuring out there's going to be assignments where they're going to use AI. There's going to be assignments where they're not going to use AI. There's going to be assignments like Mrs. Kenya shared where they're going to collaborate on and use AI. And then there's going to be assignments where they're not using AI. I think one of the things we've already begun to discover, which may come as a disappointment to a lot of kids, while AI tools may be shiny and exciting and new, they then quickly realize, like, oh, wait a minute, I still have to do work here. And it's like, yes, that's when we know we're doing it right. We're getting you to do the work. Now let's have a conversation about the work you're doing, or let's all give feedback on the work we're doing. And I think that's an essential part of what we're trying to preserve. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to add, because I don't think they gave themselves enough credit, but I really am so proud, so grateful to be working with you all. There's actually so many staff here using AI that we couldn't bring everybody in. And so many students, I'm so grateful to you all, our AI club and Mr. Hardy, because a lot of schools, you see them shutting down AI. So thank you all too, as the board, for your support and trust in our staff. They're really at the forefront of this. And so much so that the Department of Education is looking to put out guidance, and I think they're looking to see what our guidance is, and that's why they'll be here on Monday, which is so cool to know that the Department of Innovation at the Department of Education wants to be here and see what we're doing. And then they're also presenting at Texpo this week as well, and they've presented at a number of conferences. So thank you all. You're doing great work. I appreciate you all, and thank you for coming. Beautiful job. Thank you. All right. So next, we are going to have our student representative, Bronwyn Downey, deliver her report, and I think you'll see another little bit of trend of AI in her report as well.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Bronwyn Downey, and I am the student representative for this Board of Education. Tonight, I will be giving a report about events and how the Central Student Body is starting 2025 off strong. So this month was an amazing time for competitions, and besides the Central Model United Nations Club winning Outstanding Delegation and the Thespian Honor Society receiving many awards at the STANGE competition, the Speech and Debate Club also held a successful competition on January 11th, with many acquiring bids for the semifinals and the nationals. So this month was a really great time for our students. January has also been a good month for sports, with the cheer team performing well and earning top spots in recent competitions and preparing for nationals. Hockey and basketball games have also brought the school together, and enthusiastic fans have been filling the stands and showing their support. We hope to continue this support through all sports as they approach their county and state tournaments in the upcoming weeks. On January 9th, the Central Red Cross Club held a blood drive to donate blood to those in need, and Central counselors held the 11th grade college and career planning night to help juniors and their parents begin to plan out their futures after graduation. Central also hosted an open house and electives exploration for families to welcome in the class of 2029 and showcase the great classes Central has to offer for next year. For future events, the Trian Music Honor Society will be putting on an All That Jazz showcase on Friday, February 7th, and there will be a virtual admissions panel on February 20th for juniors and seniors looking to hear from admissions directors from colleges across the United States. Last week, Central student leaders from student and class councils met with Mr. Brandt and Ms. Cangelisi Haid to discuss the impact of AI technology on the classroom, just as we heard from before. Students mentioned being able to use AI for brainstorming and practice problems for English and math in class, but understand how using it unethically harms learning. We also discussed the possible creation of an AI mini course on appropriate and helpful uses of AI for school in the upcoming years, just as Central used to do with their required computer science courses when computer programs were first being introduced to the classroom. Erin, the other student representative, and I would also like to thank the new board members and welcome them, and hope that we will be able to work together to improve student experiences at Central together in the new year. Thank you so much for your attention to my report tonight, and I look forward to continuing to share the passion students have for their school in the new semester.
Thank you, Bronwyn. And lastly, everyone, you will see our HIB and suspension report. I do have a report on HIBs for you during executive session. So this concludes my report this evening, and I'll pass it back to you, Lisa. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. So at this time, we will be moving into our first residents forum, and this is for comments on action items only. Because this is the first full board meeting, I would like to just read, which is on the agenda. It's nothing new. It's been there every month, but I just think since it's the beginning of the new year, it would be worth reading the the guidelines, sorry, for public speaking. So it reads as, the opportunity for the board to hear public comment will be provided at every meeting of the Board of Education and will appear on the agenda as a residents forum. 2 such forums will appear on each agenda, one near the beginning for public comment on agenda action items and one near the end for general comments. A residents forum will be a maximum of 30 minutes in length unless extended by the presiding officer. Members of the public who rise to speak during any residents forum must be recognized by the presiding officer and must preface their comments with their name and municipality, which will be listed in the official minutes. Those recognized to speak during a residents forum will be allowed 5 minutes to make their comments. No one may speak more than once on the same topic until all others who wish to speak on that topic have been heard. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No participant may address or question other board members or district personnel individually. The board will not respond to all speakers at the time of their appearance. The presiding officer may interrupt, warn, or terminate a participant's statement when the statement is too lengthy, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. The presiding officer may take other steps, including but not limited to adjourning the meeting or waiving any of the rules of the residents forum to respond to a lack of public decorum or to otherwise protect privacy or the efficient completion of the board's business. So with that, I would open up the first residents forum for action items only. You can come up to the podium. Okay, so seeing none. Oh. Yes.
Is there a sign-in or here? Okay. All right. My name is Ed McLaughlin, and I am with Delaware Township. And I'm not going to announce my phone number. So we heard from 3 candidates tonight, and I think each of those candidates is obviously committed to participating and doing their best for the Board of Education here as a member. I think each one of them is equally interested. I think there was one candidate, Reverend Vernon Williams, who was exceedingly qualified. Now, I had not heard from any of the candidates other than what I had heard, this evening from them. But we had one candidate who was a project manager for 20 years, an engineer, a coach, a minister, somebody who has managed budgets of millions of dollars over the course of their career, is involved with both professionally and involved with not-for-profits across the board. In my mind, everything you could want for a qualified Board of Education member. That person was not voted on. So all things being equal, it seems to me that what was voted on tonight doesn't seem to be based on the abilities or what that person might actually be able to bring to this board. It seemed to me like it was a vote based on ideology. And that's concerning, obviously. If ideology is the primary criteria for inclusion in the board, then my concern is that ideology is going to be the test by which policy decisions are being made on the board. And I don't think ideology has a place, whether it is, regardless of what the ideology is, the practical application of policies and the practical direction of the school and serving the community, that is the ultimate value that the board provides. And if ideology is coming into play, we're not serving our community well. We're not serving our community, we're not serving our school, and broadly speaking, at the local level, broad level, we're not really serving our democracy very well. So I think reasonable people can disagree with each other. But if we're ignoring reasonable people, if we're not bringing on qualified, reasonable people to serve on this board, if we're marginalizing reasonable people that are members of this board, then we are being unreasonable, and we're not serving the community. So I hope you'll take this into consideration as we go forward. Make this about students. Make this about the business of running a school and running it well. Don't make this about ideology, please. Thank you.
Okay, that's a tough act to follow. I absolutely agree with everything that was just said. My name is Virginia Parati. I'm a resident of Raritan Township for 34 years. I had 3 students go through Hunterdon Central and 1 grandchild. I moved to Flemington in 1990 because the school district here was so much better than where I had been living. I was always so proud to have my kids come here because honestly, all 3 of my children, very different from each other, and they had different needs. There was no way that I could provide for them all the support that they needed for the things that they wanted to pursue. And Hunterdon Central was just top of the line. We had some wonderful teachers. Everything, I never had a complaint at all. And in fact, my children came out of the school with really good values. One of my proudest moments was when my son was a senior, my youngest one, and I got a citation in the mail. He was caught being polite to, it was from a custodian, and that made me so proud that a custodian, you can imagine how sometimes children can be, rude, whatever. So I feel like between the school and our community that we lived in and me and my husband, that everything went really well for our kids. I'm very concerned that education has become a political football. And tonight, actually, I'm embarrassed about what happened. I was familiar with the person, with Ms. Gray, because she ran last year, but I never saw an interview with her, and I never heard her criteria. It seemed to be a partisan vote. And this year I came in, I wanted to listen to the candidates, and I heard some really good answers to questions. And then I will just say, I don't know how many more seconds I have, but I was a PTO mom. I was a treasurer for the Cub Scouts. I was a CCD teacher, a Brownie leader. I did Odyssey the Mine with the group one year. I did all those volunteer things, and I don't undervalue them. I think they're extremely important. And I think parents coming on the Board of Ed, if that's their only qualifications, that's wonderful. But we really do have to have people on the board. We have to have diversity on the board. We have to have people on the board that have strong backgrounds. It's a learning curve, any job that you get. And I'm sure she's going to enter her job and learn what she needs to learn. But I can tell you, having been a teacher in a high school, a child study team member, there's so much more that goes on to a school. There's so much more in it than that I feel that those things that I did as a volunteer would never have qualified me to be a board member, especially the budgeting, all those things, no matter how much money I've worked with. So I just want to say that I'm actually ashamed about what happened tonight. I feel like it's like a little girlfriend club, that there was like a little clique or something, that everybody just wanted this person. And it's not to demean her. I'm sure she's a wonderful person. But just to hear the other candidates and their previous experiences, I'm just aghast. I'm shocked. That's all I want to say.
Hi, I just want to say he's the best choice, and if you didn't vote for him, you're voting for other reasons. You're not voting for a qualified person.
Just state your name.
That's all that I have to say.
All right. Anyone else? All right. Seeing none, we're going to move on to our organizational items. So the school board recognition was addressed by Jessica. We have our committee appointments, which are set by the board president. We have our standing and ad hoc committees as well. And then we have the representative appointments. And those appointments are for the New Jersey School Board Association, Hunterdon County School Board Associations, Hunterdon County Vocational, and also Hunterdon Central School Foundation. Next organizational item is to move to rescind the appointment of Gorman, Danella, and Morlock effective January 28th, 2025. Number 5 is our Hunterdon Central Regional High School District Board of Education member handbook. We actually discussed this at our retreat, and included in that is our board norms, and we also will be posting this on our website under Board of Education. In addition, we have a central email now address, so if anybody would like to communicate with the board, they can send that to the one email that's provided that will be posted on the website. So we've had some issues in the past where people haven't remembered or forgot to add all of the board members. So this way we will all see the email come in, and we will be able to capture that. And then the final organizational item is the CUSAC waiver, which Jessica has already addressed. So with that, I would like to move, and we don't need to move the committees, so I'm going to move items 3 through 6. Can I get a motion and a second? Hopefully I did that right. Oh, 1 as well, too? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so my apologies. We're moving 1, 3 through 6. Can I get a motion and a second?
So moved.
Okay.
Just point of clarification, why don't we have to move the 1, 2, 3, committee assignments?
I think because they're already assigned.
Thank you.
Right, they're appointments, that's why. Okay, all right.
Can we have some discussion on the board handbook? So there's a section in the board handbook that says that committee chairs are required to monitor board member adherence to board norms and report deviations to the board president as needed. It specifically says that for a first offense of, I guess, violating board norms, the chair will remind the board member of the agreed upon board norms and operations. And then for the second offense, the chair of the committee will make the board president aware and discuss appropriate repercussions, including possible removal from the committees. Earlier today, I did send some questions to the board president. Specifically, what is the process for documenting, I guess, alleged deviations from our board norms? Is there an appeals process? Is there a way that we are recording this? Because we do not record committee meetings. So if we end up in a he said, she said sort of a situation, how do we resolve that? Are we calling people in front of the committee, or in front of the board to testify? I'm just, to me, this seems like it creates a situation where we're opening up the board to additional liability. If we remove someone from a committee, either they, that is an affirmative action that the board is taking that restricts that board member's access and role. So the community that that board member represents is less represented, and that board member is now experiencing repercussions. So again, I don't see the need. My understanding coming out of the board retreat was that this handbook was going to be discussed, that the committees were going to be working through it. So I don't think there's a need to vote on this tonight. And again, I'm concerned that there are specific things in here that we really need to address.
Okay, so I did respond to your email. And so the reason for that criteria is to keep people on track, right? So the board president is not interested in removing committee members, but to make sure that they comply with the board norms, right? So we discussed that. And
But board norms are board norms. There's no requirement. There's no bylaw. There's no policy. It's an agreement among adults to behave like adults. So the idea that there is a codified, punitive arrangement that the committee chairs are responsible for enforcing is concerning.
well, we did have a discussion at the retreat. The minutes do reflect that. The consensus was that there were no issues. So, and again, I had said, it was a last minute request. We can certainly address it in the future. But again, there were no other concerns that came up. So, yes.
Excuse me, I did express concern during the meeting that there was insufficient preparation for reading the handbook, considering all the options and everything at the retreat. And I fully expected that we would have a session where we could address some of this stuff. It does sound to me as though there is a desire somehow to spend this effort on codifying what is misbehavior when we all know that what we're supposed to do as adults. Yes, sometimes people get heated and they say things they don't mean, and that should be discussed because we repair our relationships. We don't just throw them out. And so I feel very much like we all deserve to be in a discussion where we decide. I'm not saying we should take something out or put something in. I'm saying we should talk about what the goal is and whether the goal is to punish people or the goal is to repair and rejuvenate, to make whole. Generally speaking, punishment does not actually help people. It doesn't. When doctors talk to patients about their weight in a shameful way, nobody loses weight. Nobody. Okay, punishment doesn't help things. If we want to be civil to each other and treat each other with respect, which is one of the norms, we have to repair. We have to, come to a place where we say, I said that and that was hurtful to you, and I'm sorry, right? That is what is important to me. So I don't think it is appropriate to vote on this today.
So what do you?
I wasn't going to speak, so just bear with me because this could be emotional. I think the manual is good. I wish I had it a year ago. It's got some great stuff in it, but now it's a 21-page document. And I remember from the retreat that, at least my request was that we do have another board meeting to talk about the content. It's good stuff, but I had some questions. You know, we had that yellow Post-it note exercise, and I remember the superintendent saying, we're going to send out these comments to make sure we've captured what the group said. I don't recall getting anything. So that's not the way a committee should work, in my opinion. Then I received an email from a board member that said I was really close. I was on thin ice relative to violating 2 of the board norms. They said number 1, although I'm confused about number 1, because number 1 says, the benefit of the students should be at the forefront of our discussions and actions. I always make decisions to the benefit of the students at Central. And at that committee meeting, we weren't making a decision. There was no quorum, there was no decision to be made, so I don't understand why number 1 is a violation, or why I'm on thin ice for that. Number 4 in this email to me was, stay focused on the content, not the person, no personal attacks. You know, I've spent 25 years in human resources. If someone had an issue with me, someone would interview every person who was at that committee meeting and ask, what happened? What did Sandra say? If I offended someone, then that person should come to me and say, Sandra, I was offended by you for what you said, and I would have apologized. But that didn't happen. The person who sent me the email didn't come to me and didn't seek to understand what it was that I wanted to say. I felt bullied and I felt intimidated when I got that email. You know, I got elected to the board. I have a voice. I may have a minority voice, but I have a voice. I have 1 vote. I didn't come here as a volunteer to be silenced. But the chair of a committee sounds like they are the judge and the jury. What's the appeal process? There's nothing in the manual. Who do I go to and say, hey, number 3, listen empathetically and with curiosity, be open to learning what a person is communicating. Okay, the person who sent me the email did not do number 3. Where do I go for recourse? I'm worried, I'm concerned. You want to remove me from a committee? Have a recall, take me off of the board. I didn't work this hard to be silenced. You know, I look forward to working with Mrs. Gray. She ran against me in 2023. But again, I won't be silenced. I'm going to act in accordance with my values. As I said, I felt bullied. I understand now what kids feel like. I haven't been bullied since elementary school for being Chinese. This is hard for me to say. Last month, I was silenced. You know what I wanted to say at the end of the board meeting? I wanted to say we have different values. We come at things from different perspectives, and that's okay. But what I was going to also say is that I hope we come to a middle ground so that we can make the best decisions for the Central students. That was what I was going to say. But I was silenced. My values define me, as they do for everyone here. I will not accept a false sense of unity on this board. And I'm not naive. I'm not naive about how the majority of this board is going to vote. Robert's rules allows the majority to vote. I get that. But Robert's rules protects the minority voice. So please don't silence me. I am exposed as a minority, but I will be more engaged on this board than I was last year. I will work for my constituents. I care about the kids here. I care about the decisions that I make. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I don't think anyone was trying to silence you, but I will say that when we distributed the handbook, we gave plenty of notice. We asked that you come prepared for the retreat to discuss it, to review it, and you had several days to do that. And I didn't hear any comments from anyone.
I don't know what I read, but when you organized the retreat, you provided no information about what we would do during the retreat.
I said
And
we would discuss it.
I don't,
So, and listen, other people understood it that way. So
I'm a new person, and so
Okay.
we have to consider that we don't like just know things, right?
Okay, well, that's fine.
I don't, whether I can accept that you did. I won't argue with you whether you did or not. I will look and see, but.
It was January 11th,
But,
yes.
but it is important that 3 of us have said that we don't feel that the handbook is ready the way it is, and we would not like to vote on it. You have the power,
Right.
you have the majority, you make the decision, but it seems reasonable that if we are going to work as a team, that what makes a difference to take another meeting and talk about it? It was so important for it to be accepted by everybody. We are a committee, right? We could be more unified. So
Right.
why not?
Well, I think because the original retreat, people chose not to be prepared and to discuss it. I think that was part of it.
There was no agenda for the retreat.
There was
And
an agenda. Yeah.
There was nothing on it, and there was a clear email. Well, let me rephrase this.
Okay,
I would
so
like to
listen.
make a motion
Okay.
to table the handbook and have the committees review it this month and bring it up again next month.
Okay. So can we get a second? Okay. Can we get a roll call?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
So do I just move the other remaining items? Yeah, they were all on the floor, so we tabled one, so we're. Okay. So do we just go into a roll call then for those? We can, unless there's discussion on anything. Okay. Okay. I guess we're good?
As long as Mrs. Duggan and Mrs. Rothel are okay with those changes, because they were removed in second. On 1, 3, 3. Yes.
Okay.
Okay with that.
I'm sorry. Mrs. Rothel?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes, okay, yes on numbers, everything except for number 4, I'm going to abstain.
Okay. Thank you. Mrs. Kellogg?
Yes on number 1, no on number 4, yes on number 6.
And number 3? The representative appointments,
Oh, we vote on that? Oh, yes.
just the representatives. Ms. Gong?
So yes on 1. Let's see, yes on 3. No on 4. Is that it?
And 6, the CUSAC
And
waiver.
6, yes on 6.
Thank you. Ms. LaCosta?
Yes.
Dr. Halpern? Yes on 1, yes on 3, no on 4, yes on 6. Mrs. Duggan?
Yes.
And Mrs. Santangelo?
Yes.
Motions carry, with number 5 being tabled.
thought a tie is, oh, never mind. I'm sorry.
Okay, moving on to student life and program. Leslie?
So due to the reorg meeting, we, the committee, our SL and P committee, did not have an opportunity to meet, but we had a priority action item that did come up and was reviewed. So there is a move to approve the Hunterdon Central Regional High School marching band and orchestras to attend the Walt Disney Company's Imagination Campus Educational Outreach Program at Disneyland overnight trip in Anaheim, California, from April 21st to the 26th, 2025. Approximately 72 students and 7 chaperones will attend. Costs for the trips will be approximately $3,550 per student and paid for by student and family and fundraising, the student and family and fundraising. So the motion to move this and a second.
Second.
Roll call?
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Ms. Gong?
Yes.
Dr. Halpern? Yes. Ms. Rothel?
Yes.
Ms. LaCosta?
Yes.
Mrs. Duggan?
Yes.
Mrs. Kellogg?
Yes.
And Mrs. Santangelo?
Yes.
All yes, motion carries.
All right, next is Operations and Transportation Committee. Jessica?
A few items. The Operations and Transportation Committee met on Thursday, January 22nd, and the attendees were Sandra Gong, Ellen Halpern, Lisa Santangelo, Jessica Cangelosi-Hade, Heather Spitzer, and myself. Graciously, Mrs. Spitzer provided us with a very helpful demo on how to navigate board docs. Even better, we were happy to report that our fiscal year 24 audit came back with no recommendations, and we are in good financial standing with a strong cash position. Because of our healthy reserves, we'll have no need for future referendums. For action items 1 through 3, it's customary every month to have standard financial movement, which keeps the operations of the district going. These happen with invoices and transfers, so therefore financial reports, bills lists, and transfers are being presented for approval. Item number 4 is simply requesting that we relocate originally assigned stabilization funds from the electricity asset line to the bus asset line, as our need has since changed. Item number 5 has asked us to accept the generous donation from local businesses to our corporate sponsors program. Item number 6 is asking to approve PowerPlus as our new translation services vendor. These services are used for administration and staff to converse with members of our community where English is not their first language. I would like to move items 1 through 6.
Second.
Roll call, sorry.
Sorry, I would just like to congratulate you and your staff on the audit report. That was really one of the cleanest reports I've seen in the 4 years I've been on the board. It was remarkable, so very nicely done.
Thank you. Mrs. Kellogg?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Okay, yes on 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and on number 2, I need to abstain from several check numbers. One of them, actually 2 of them, are 81015 and 81138, which are checks to Gorman, Danella, and Morlock. I will be abstaining from check number 81030 and 81165, which are checks to Skank, Price, Smith and King, and 81113, which is reimbursement for my workshop expenses.
Thank you. Mrs. Duggan?
I'm going to say yes to everything, but abstain for check number 81107, which is my reimbursement for the workshop.
Thank you. Dr. Halpern? Yes to all of it. Ms. Gong?
Yes to all the items, but item number 2, I have to abstain for check number 81108, which was my reimbursement for the NJSBA convention.
Ms. Rothel?
I also am saying yes to everything but number 2 for check number 81100. I will abstain for reimbursement.
And Mrs. Santangelo?
Yes, with exception to checks 81047, 81219.
I just want to be clear that the invoices are passing with yes votes except for those individual exceptions for check numbers. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, next is the Personnel Committee, which met on Wednesday, January 22nd. The attendees were Dee Kellogg, Heather Spitzer, Jessica Cangelosi, Haidt, and myself. So every month, we have a large majority of personnel is mostly new hires. There are sometimes retirements, resignations, and terminations, and this month is no different. We also have our personal development, which is offered to the staff, as well as conference attendees. So with that, I would like to move items 1 through 17. Can I get a motion and a second?
Second.
Thank you. Can I get a roll call?
Ms. Gong?
Yes.
Mrs. Rothel?
Yes.
Dr. Halpern?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mrs. Kellogg?
Yes.
Ms. LaCosta?
Yes.
And Mrs. Santangelo?
Yes.
Did I get everyone? Sorry. Mrs. Duggan? I had Mrs. Santangelo twice. I apologize. I knew that was incorrect. Mrs. Duggan? Yes. Oh, yes, motion carries.
Okay, thank you. So now we'll move on to additional business. We don't, I don't think, have any other committees or liaison reports, but is there anything for additional business, board business? I just wanted to mention, back in November at the board meeting, Subhash Durba and Anastasia Feldman had attended the board meeting, and they did an excellent job in terms of, they're both students, presenting an issue that they wanted us to address with regard to extracurricular busing. So because of the end of the year, with the student celebration at our December meeting and the reorg, and not having SLMP this month, we are going to be discussing that in the February Student Life and Program Committee. So we will be discussing that, and then we will be hopefully reporting out a resolution in the near future. I just want to thank those two students again for bringing that to our attention. Okay, so with that, we will move into the final residence forum. If anybody would like to speak, they can come up.
Good evening. I'm Jim Vargas, longtime resident of Raritan Township, currently reside in Monmouth Beach. I think most of you know me. I started coming here about 20 months ago when a young woman at my parish was attacked during her voicing about her life. And I stayed here a long time because another member of my parish was cited for his speech against transgender issues and or voicing his thing. The people, I watched the election tonight, and it was really interesting to watch. To the people who came up and their candidate wasn't selected, to be sure that it was on ideology, I would be really careful. Just because you see somebody different or you see skills of somebody else that you might need, a person might be better, but the skills of another person on the board might be needed. So you got to be real open to that type of thing. And ideology, when I started coming here, I did it for those two issues. But I found that there was rampant force of ideology under the last administration. People who spoke out on one side were chastised. People who spoke out on the other were lauded. People were called names. People were afraid to talk. That is ideology. This board changed, okay? And for some reason, when I started doing this, I've wound up doing different boards and working with people. This is probably the 28th board I've been in front of, right? And Lisa and Jessica, I have no board I've been in front of that have more hope and faith in what you two are going to do with this board. So much hope. Because what I've seen is great people come up and talk about what they're doing, the things that are going on in education, the young men that are talking what they did, that young woman over there that set up on a board are so great. However, there are also students sitting home watching videos, okay? The thing about equity is equal outcome. You can't have it work. You can't look at a person like that and turn around to people sitting home and level the playing field. It's just not the way life works. The other thing I would say is in dissension. I've gotten to know Ms. Gong a bit. We differ in our views. Boards need people who dissent. Boards need people for a different opinion. They should be respected. When I teach my people that work for me, if you're in the majority, be nice to the minority because you're going to win anyway. Why make them feel bad, okay? Help them make part of the solution, right? Along those lines, again, you know, what I would advise the board when I was seeing is be careful. Even the view of we were over here, now we're over here, we're winners. You have a chance here to be inclusive, okay, and go do it, all right? There are two things. How much time do I got? Okay. There are two things I would look out there for. There's a lot of things change. The change in Washington, all the things going on about DEI and all the things that are going on, we don't know what to say. I would still tell you, I've been in front of the state school board. I've been in front of Congress. I've been in front of the Assembly, a couple other places. Parents' rights are still in danger. Okay, and if I missed one thing that I missed, should have been sorted in the Kennedy talk. Nobody talked about parents' rights or what they're doing. Still, where you still have the law, 5756, it should be repealed. I know the she will be back to sit back and say, let's see what goes on and vote on it. But taking that your child comes to a school and you don't have any say in what they do is in that, and especially key areas like sex and all that type of thing is just wrong. All right. The other thing in my minute I would like to talk to that nobody ever gets to talk about, and I think this board can do it. Choice and human beings are the most important thing we do. I don't care if they're young or if they're old, right? One of the things that needs to be discussed right now, choice is a woman's choice on abortion is a law of the land, right? But nobody ever talks about the consequences of it, right? If I understand there are 2,400 students in this facility right now, 1 in 3 pregnancies in New Jersey are terminated. That would mean that if there wasn't an abortion, there would be 3,600 people here, 1,200 people more than exist today. You got to at least look and say, okay, what are the consequences of that? What about those 1,200 people that will live their lives, contribute to society, share and love and be loved, right? Don't they matter? You got to watch out because you can diminish what a human being is, right? One of the things that I do, I never did it with children, I do it with adults in class I do with, is I have 3 chairs, it's called the empty chair, 2 people in an empty chair. And I ask those 2 people that are pro-choice, say, what do you think that person might be? Then I ask the other person, look at your friend, what would your life be without your friend? And then I ask the other person, say, do you feel so strongly about choice that you would give up your own existence? Would you cease to exist for that vanity? Just to think about it. So just those type of things bringing into I think are really important. But in closing, I think you guys have a great thing to do. Go do it. Treat each other well, and God bless.
Thank you.
Diversity? Where's your token male?
Hi, my name is Heather Mazzio. I'm from Flemington. I'm a parent here at Hunterdon Central. I have 1 child that graduated last year and 1 that's currently a student. As I've mentioned before, when I was here in November, both of my children are trans, and I would like to clear something up from Mr. Vargas's comments, if I may. I've heard him speak here on many occasions, talking about parents' rights being attacked and lack of transparency from the school with parents. And I just want to say that when my children requested from the school to change their names in the system, even though they weren't yet legally changed, the school was very accommodating, but there was absolutely transparency. My child was in Mr. Estrada's office, and he gave me a telephone call, and made sure that I was aware of this request and that I gave my approval for such a request and such a change to be made. There was complete communication and transparency, so I don't feel that any parents' rights are being withheld or attacked. I just wanted to make that clear. Thank you.
One of the things that I think that you as a board need to make sure that you do, and that is we all come up here as the public and we will spout our ideology, our opinions, but you as a board have a fiduciary duty to actually look at the facts. You as a board have a duty to ensure that you properly deliberate. Yes, you should hear us, but you should properly deliberate on what is said. Information was given out on tonight. 1 in 3 individuals have an abortion in New Jersey. I'm not sure if the individual who made that statement is aware that they were completely wrong. It's 3 in 100. Now, whatever your ideology is on abortion, you do need to make sure that you consider facts, that you consider what is said, that you deliberate in a manner that is ethical and that upholds the integrity of who you are supposed to be as a board. And so please, as you listen to us and we spout our opinion and ideology, you are to use critical thinking and analyze what you are to be doing. Please do not base any of your decisions on ideology. Yes, you know you have your own ideology, but as a body, you are to deliberate in the best interest of our district, of our students, and of our parents. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Nikki Bryce. I'm a resident of Raritan Township. I currently have a junior at Hunterdon Central, and next year I will have a freshman coming in. Just an observation on one of the agenda items which makes me question it, and this may be just that I'm not knowledgeable about the inner workings of the board or this wasn't made public, but the item about the committee appointments, which was an item not to be voted on, that these appointments were made, my observation is just that there are 8 committees that are listed here. There's currently 8 board members sitting around the table, a 9th one coming in that was voted on tonight. I just noticed 3 of the members at this table are not listed as committee chairs, whereas several of the members are listed more than once as chairs. Some of the members are quite new to the board. So I'm just curious why the chair positions of the committees aren't more evenly spread out between all the members. And again, maybe it's just discussions you've had amongst yourselves and time commitments and interest expressions, I don't know. But just an observation which I found a little concerning. Maybe I don't need to be concerned, but I did just want to raise that. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, so we'll close public comment, and we are going to convene into executive session, and there will be no action taken. Motion to convene, yes, thank you.
Will you get a motion? Motion to convene into executive session, yeah. Okay, second.
So you're the first and you're the second, okay.
Yes, thank you.
Aye. Aye.
In that room? Yeah, we'll come back and call the meeting.
Okay, so I can just